Hola, bom dia. Munson here from expatsportugal.com with the Good Morning Portugal show. So it's a bon dia alegria from me to you. Let's see who's here this morning, as well as Paul Richards. Actually, I'm not gonna do the hellos and then bring Paul on. Let's get Paul on as guest and co-host this morning, all the way live from God's own county, Yorkshire in England. Mr. Paul Richards, everybody. Hello, Paul.
Hey, Carl, how you doing?
Very good, thank you very much indeed. If we were to continue in the Yorkshire vernacular, and you would say to me, "Hey up, how's it going, lad?" What would I say? What's the Yorkshire equivalent at the top of the morning, or I'm firing on all cylinders?
No idea.
Thank you. That's so helpful. That's so helpful. Thank you. I think it might be quite a measured. Yeah, not too bad, thanks, lad. It wouldn't be too effusive, would it? I don't think.
No, it wouldn't. No, it'd be acceptable.
It'd be thoroughly acceptable and economical. Fantastic. Matty's here. Lots of people queuing up to say hello this morning, Paul. Looking forward to talking to you about your amazing life. Let's face it. You have done one or two things in your time, haven't you?
Just a bit.
Yes, you are. People will know you, obviously, from this show for your photography, and which you've been doing for 50 years. You've been in the motor trade for a few decades as well. But a road haulage, you're a trucker, not a bit partial to the odd Yorkie bar by the sound of it. A ski instructor, a ski patroller, a medical trauma trainer at high altitude, a champagne importer. You've lived in Greece, you've lived in France, and now you're coming to Portugal. Did you work for international exports as well? You sound like you might be James Bond.
No, never met him. Met a few on the mountain.
I bet you did. What, tried to recreate those scenes where he's snowing down the? Which one was that? Roger Moore in the one on the Alps. I'm not sure.
He's been in a few, I think. Yeah.
But it's a glamorous activity is skiing, isn't it? And no wonder James Bond 007 partakes in a bit of it, as you've done. So we may well return there as a conversational thread. But the main thing, of course, is you're moving to the Algarve. You've loved the Algarve for many years. Let's see who's here, and I'm sure they've got a few questions for you as well. In Portuguese, and desejo a todos uma boa quinta-feira e uma vida equilibrada a partir de Amsterdam. So from a balanced and happy day, as usual, from Matty in Amsterdam. There's your literal translation there. Wish everybody a good Thursday and a balanced life. Who could wish for more? Andrea. Bon dia. The Netherlanders are in early this morning. Andrea's here as well. Bon dia, good morning from her. Francis from South Africa. Good morning, all. Thanks. And a special greeting sent to Matty there. Thunderduck in Lisboa. Bon dia, alegria this morning. Paul, Louise and Lottie are here. Hola, bon dia, alegria from them. Good. We're getting back into the bon dia, alegrias as bestowed upon us the official GMP blessing from Philomena. Paul and Sue are here. Who great news that you've bought a place. Of course, that's you two there. So you know these people, do you? Do you know Paul, Louise, and Lottie?
We have a mutual friend.
Marvelous. That happens, doesn't it, in this network? Ian Turner's here as well. The growing old disgracefully fella. Second training session this morning. Leg still complaining from the first one. Planning our 3-week trip to the Algarve in February. So Paul will be able to help with a bit of intel on that, I'm sure. Andy is here. Bon dia with some kisses for us as well there, Paul. Yeah. Good. Good morning,
From Yorkshire, you know.
Yes, get thee back. Good morning, everyone. From Elra in Finland, Andrea. Tusk running late. Is that us or you? I don't know. And the young primates are shouting out to each other as they. You'll have seen this, Paul. Andrew, Matty. Oh, to be that age again, eh? Or maybe not. Good morning, everyone from Gemini. Sprinting is what Ian does, and he's a coach too. He's going to be coaching us soon, everybody. Jeff's here. Bon dia, alegria todos. Anna's here from Sweden. Bon dia to you, Anna. Nice. I was in athletics as a teenager, mostly because there were loads of girls doing it. This is why a lot of lads go into particular things. Is that why you went into photography, Paul?
Partly.
An honest answer. Fantastic. Of course, it's an honest answer from Paul. Very straight speaking, as we know from our webinars. You've been with us on many a webinar, haven't you? And I do like your input there. How long have you been in the community of Expats Portugal?
I think we came in around about, I think it was October last year, I think.
Really? Just it feels longer than that, doesn't it? It just feels like
Just to me too.
Yeah. Look at that, bit of a Yorkshire stereotype there. No, take it out. I think that's from Tetley tea bags, isn't it? Tea grown in Yorkshire, obviously, just like Yorkshire tea. Bon dia from a currently overcast world of hygiene this morning. Good morning, boys, says Elaine, who's my guest tomorrow on Feel Good Friday, talking about health and well-being. Fantastic. Look at this, one for you. Oh!
Whoa.
Was it me, or did the intro music seem to speed up? Have you been on the Assam tea again, Mark? I think it does. It does sound like it speeds up from time to time. It's the processing, I think, and the streaming speed. It does get a bit glitchy and catches up with itself and sounds a bit odd. I get that as well. It's not just the tea we're drinking. Hola, bon dia todos from Jersey P. How's it going? How's that tour going? Mark's here as well from Norfolk. Bon dia, alegría. Hello, Mark. Always a good reason to get. They can genuinely be described as fit, the girls who do athletics. Jackie Polly. Jackie Polly in Torquay. Bon dia alegría. Chris and I have 3 days left in the UK. People counting down like you. How's your countdown going? When will you be here, Paul?
It's going to be late September, possibly October. We signed, we finished, we do the deal on Tuesday. It's finished, it's ours, it's the property. So
last Tuesday or this coming Tuesday?
This coming Tuesday. We'll be hitting the champagne.
Fantastic. So still a bit of sort of nerve-wracking, nail-biting stuff because it's not done till it's done, is it? But it's all looking good for next Tuesday.
Yeah, everything's set up. Yeah.
Perfect. Beautiful. Victoria Benson, Bon dia alegría. Actually, we'll probably talk to you about the process you went through to make things secure and safe. Eric and Victoria here. Hey, Victoria, how are you doing? How are your plans going? Eric Willingen, bon dia alegría to you. Paul is wearing my tea towel. Says Colin. Another card from the webinars there. Colin Ross Jones. Good morning, Colin. Good news to share. My owners association has given the order to the constructors to fix the issue in my heating. So a move to Portugal is getting closer. Every little bit helps, doesn't it? Who is this then? This is and what are they stroking in that picture, I wonder? Viesh Romanush. Okay, the Roman roads then possibly. Bon dia alegría. Hello, I think you're a new name to us. And it's a lol to Colin about the tea towel there, I think. Yep, speed it up for me as well. Yeah, okay. Sounded like a half-second echo too. Everyone's a sound engineer this morning, aren't they? Is there a volume control for that shirt? Says John Hayfield to you, Paul. Bon dia to both from Melissa. Just a couple more greetings before we get into this. Bon dia todos from Jim. Hello, Jim. And Jup had that too, was checking if I had 2 browser tabs open or something. Well, I don't know what's going on. Oh, I did unmute the mic so that I could whistle along. I hope I didn't enjoy or ruin your enjoyment in a Roger Whittaker style with that this morning. So probably won't do that again. Okay, Paul.
Yes.
Portugal, the Algarve. When did you first fall in love? Well, there's no point talking about the rest of Portugal because Portugal to you is the Algarve, isn't it? You know, there are other places available in this country.
Well, that's not quite true, actually. I mean, right. we came to the Algarve about 25 years ago, just for a week's holiday, as you do. And I thought, hey, it's not a bad place to live, this, is it? It's all right.
Yeah.
And then there was a big gap. And then as things matured, we came back to Portugal. And if you look at the map of Portugal and imagine a triangle going down all 4 sides of Portugal. Yeah. And we took a month out. We based ourselves in Tavira. We went west to the windiest point of Portugal, came up north, right to nearly to the Spanish border, turned right to the eastern border, and came back down to the Algarve. And the one thing that I noticed is the more northern you went, the cooler it got. And as we returned down to the Algarve, the warmer it got. And I thought, this is telling me something.
Yeah. What time of year was that?
June.
Oh, okay. So you got a pretty good idea of how it would be like. Did you like Jerez, though, up in the north there? And probably you went to Ponta de Lima as well?
Didn't get quite as far north as that. We were just past Porto. So, and then we turned right inland, basically.
But as a man who likes a landscape, I mean, it gets pretty dramatic up there. But it was just the weather that put you off.
Well, no, it was a little bit more than that because obviously we're based in Leeds. And Leeds Bradford Airport to Faro, 2.5 hours away. So it was a communication thing too, which was helpful to us.
Okay, and so let's narrow it down to the Algarve then. How did you choose which part of the Algarve to be in? Because you've heard all the well, no, they're not really criticisms, are they? It's more about taste, isn't it? And people say, oh, I don't want to be going to the Algarve, all the expats, and it's so busy, tourism, blah blah blah. Guinness, full English fry up. It's not all like that, is it, down in the Algarve?
Well, it can be.
Yes,
But I mean,
nice every now and then. Yeah, yeah.
no, I mean, what we did, I did a lot of research. I think it's very important to get information before you come out, because, you know, I'll take my hat off to people who've done what you've done, and all the people who are now expats living in Portugal. It's a big thing to do. It's a big move. It's a life-changing thing that you're doing. And I think what we did, we went to the Algarve in winter. And the reason we went in winter was that I could research the whole of Algarve in what we call winter. I'm correct, about the 1st of December till the end of April. That's the time scale that we were on, really. Because I think you need to spend a lot of time to get used to places. And I was averaging, every season I went, about 3,000 miles just looking at places and getting to know them.
Yeah.
And I came to the conclusion, for me, and obviously it's a personal thing, it's what suits you and your lifestyle, is that the central Algarve was the place to be, because you could go left or go right, and within, you know, just less than an hour, you could be anywhere. And I went, the other thing about the Algarve is, everyone thinks about the sea, but the inland part, 20-minute drive, it takes to places like Padern, Alt, and they're just so incredible. The landscape changes so quickly. And for a photographer, that was wonderful.
Yeah, and so that's been a key part of your decision making. I mean, it sounds to me like you're not picking a village and you're living there and you don't want to go out and about. I mean, you really do want to get out and about and take more photographs, right?
Well, we were based in San Rafael, which is just near Albufeira.
Yeah. And
San Rafael is renowned for beautiful beaches. And, you know, the colours there were just fantastic. And obviously, when you're working as a photographer, you work to a system, you work to a schedule. When you're retired, you work for yourself, so you can take the time to take the photographs.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's beautiful to go out with a camera, with a tripod, and take your time and enjoy the photography rather than being rushing to do something. And that, for me, was a total joy. The atmosphere had been there. I met a lot of other photographers who were doing similar things, Portuguese besides expats. And it's amazing. It's a very good communication thing as photography. People want to share their ideas and their knowledge. And I made a lot of Portuguese friends just by doing that.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so it's a bit, I mean, for us with kids, wherever we go, people talk to us because we've got kids. Same happens, I think, if you've got a dog. But it looks like the same thing might happen too if you've got a tripod and a camera. You'll have other photographers coming up to you saying, yeah, what's that lens like then? Or, you know, how are you going to, yeah, okay.
Well, one of the things that's happened, I mean, you don't see many people with cameras today in Portugal. It's all the iPhone or the phones. Yes. And I'm not knocking them. They are fantastic at what they can do. But they are limited to what they can do. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, as anyone who tried to take a photograph of the full moon a couple of days ago, they saw it in the sky, didn't they? And they said, okay, I can't wait to get this on Facebook, how amazing the moon looks here where I'm living in Portugal. You get your phone out and take a picture of it. It's like there's a little dot in the sky. Yes, so that doesn't look anything like I'm seeing. And obviously, I was showing a few of your photos. This is a beautiful photograph. You're not going to be able to get something like that on an iPhone, are you? You need a very different exposure setting for one thing, don't you? With that, I mean, that's not just pull out your iPhone and take a picture. What sort of setup is required to take a picture of that beauty?
Well, actually, that's a cheap photograph, actually. That sky didn't belong to that setting.
Oh, cheeky and cheaty. Okay, so there's a bit of Photoshop magic going on there.
Yeah, a little bit of that, yeah. I mean, that is the beauty of the digital world. We can do whatever we want, you know. Yeah. The industry has completely changed in the time that I've been in it, obviously.
Yeah. Well, tell us about that. So when you first went into it, and this will be a lovely trip down memory lane for a lot of people, and obviously the first phrase that comes to mind is box brownie. I'm not accusing you of being a box brownie owner, but you'll have gone completely from being in the world of analog photography and roll film into digital. So where did this all begin then, your 50-year journey in photography?
Well, my father gave me a camera when I was 8 years old, and I forgot to put it down, basically.
Oh.
And, you know, photography has changed. I mean, originally it was just black and white and film. Yeah. And then color came along. And at that time, I was actually developing color and black and white. And color was quite difficult to do in a dark room.
Sure.
And then, of course, digital came along in the late 80s, 90s. And the world changed. The world changed completely for the photography. And originally, the original digital cameras, because I still have one, a Sony, which was a floppy disk memory card. Wow. You know, it just got better and better. And the professional people who I work with said,
That's amazing. But Bill Gates said that about the internet, didn't he? It will never work or something like that. But now look, Bill, at what you've done to us. So yes, this is an interesting thing to talk about for the younger people viewing, because there was a time, of course, when the amateurs would have to take their roll of film. You had a sort of 12 or 24 or 36 exposures on an old-fashioned camera, and you would take the pictures and hope for the best. And then you'd have to take them to a chemist or a photo finisher, I think they were called, weren't they? And you pick it up a week later, and you'd see how many of your pictures were blurred, were not even there because you'd left the lens cap on or something like that. And it would cost you, I don't know, a £5 or a £10 or something like that. And it's an entirely different world, isn't it? So how did it change your experience of being a professional at that time?
Well, I think, we did our own developing and producing things, but I think the difference was that when you were actually paying, remember I'm from Yorkshire, cost is important, is that if you had only 12 or 24 on a film, you made sure you got those shots right. Yes. And the problem today with the digital, you can take 1,000, 2,000, and you have this machine gun attitude of taking photographs, thinking that one will be right. And I think the skill has lost it a little bit, to be honest with you.
Okay, yeah, that's what's come. That's the curse that's come with the blessing, isn't it, of the ease? And we all know that, don't we? Because there comes a point in every mobile phone owner's life or digital camera, if you've got one, where you've got to go through that pile of photographs, not realizing that you've taken 10,000 in the last 3 months, and you think, oh, where do I start here? So that might be a little bit of a photography tip there. Is even though you can take as many as you like, it's probably to be a bit sparing and selective.
Well, there's two things in photography which has never changed. One is light. You can't work without light. And the other one is composition of the photograph. And that's where people probably fail down a little bit. Yeah. The other side of it is the mechanical side, the cameras. And clearly that's changed beyond all recognition, to be honest with you. And what's happened in the last 10 to 5 years has been amazing. And what is going to happen in the next 10 years, I dread to think. I can give you an idea what I think will happen. But,
okay, before we go back to the Algarve and Portugal, then, what do you think is going to happen in the next 10 years of photography?
Well, it might sound strange, but I think that we'll be able to take photographs with our eyes. We'll have a chip on a watch which accepts that what we see. It goes to a server, comes back on the watch in milliseconds. And that's what will happen. How scientific is that? So our eyes are taking the photograph.
Okay, so you're looking at, I mean, this is the interesting thing for me, is that, so basically you're looking at the world twice. You're seeing it through your senses, and then there'll be technology that bolts onto that or segues with that or merges with that to render what you're seeing by some sort of biotechnology onto your device, whether it be your watch, your phone, or some tablet or something like that, or someone else's tablet. So, this is where, so for every great invention that we think of in a futuristic and joyous way, there's going to be some, as you might say in Yorkshire, some bugger out there who's thinking of how it could be used. Google could be watching everything we're watching as well, if that happens, right? And parents could be snooping on their kids, and the governments could be snooping on people in that way. The Chinese will love it, won't they?
They'll love it, yeah.
Right, okay. That is terrible. Paul, I wish you hadn't said that. Really?
It's only a dream.
It's a nightmare as well. Okay, fantastic. I'm a photographer too, says Francis. I still shoot film for fun because it's a place to escape, because you've got to think about every shot. Yes, discipline. Digital for work, but camera versus phone. I totally agree with Paul there. And also, Francis goes on to say, would be interesting to hear more about the Algarve. Yeah, sorry, we get distracted there because Paul is such an interesting fellow. There are so many things we could talk about. I want to talk about haulage as well. But anyway, we'll probably stick to the Algarve for now. I think sites set on Porto for family, but also like warm weather, but not too hot. What are the Algarve winter temperatures like? So first thing first there, Paul, how would you persuade the Gersbach family away from Porto and down to the Algarve, and what are those winter temperatures like?
Well, I don't think you need to persuade anybody. It's what you want to do, really. I mean, wherever you live in Portugal, you will think that's the best place to live, which suits you, and I don't have a problem with that. For me, the Algarve was warmer. The winters, during the day, it's just as normal, basically. It's sunny, it's lovely, but the temperature does drop at night. When that sun goes down, so does the temperature. And I think that's the whole of Portugal. But the only difference with probably the Algarve in the more nicer seasons is you always have that constant wind. And regardless of the temperature, it doesn't feel as hot as what the temperature gauge says it is. And that's one of the big differences for us.
That's fascinating, because it's, yeah, there is a saying that was said to me, Darren, if you're watching, you mentioned this to me first time, and I think it was something that was said to you by a Portuguese person, which is, it's a cold country with a hot sun. So you're absolutely right. When the sun goes out of the sky, and we do love to feel it on our warming our bones, don't we? It does go very chilly, and you've got to start putting those layers on as soon as it disappears out of the sky.
Yeah, I mean, we tend to use log fires. I mean, we love the log fire approach. And it just gives it that homely feeling, really. My wife is into log fire, so we had to buy a place that had a log fire. It's very important.
Very good. Pretty good for keeping the mosquitoes out as well. Put a bit of citronella oil on the log burner there, and that should keep the mozzies away too, because they seem to come in just at that cusp, don't they? They like a bit of dusk action, do the mosquitoes. Going back to conversation starters, actually going back to the Alentejo for some reason. Andy, what are you talking about there? The climate in the Alentejo is really hot. It certainly is, isn't it? Perhaps hotter than the Algarve at times, with the inland effect as well. Solarization, I think it's called, a photographic term as well as a meteorological one. Anything is a good excuse to strike conversation to a Portuguese. Kids, pets, fishing, photography, smoking, the food. What you on? Oh, Marlboro Lights. Yeah, me too. Lovely to meet you. The food you're eating, the random queue. We just love to chat. So true, so true. And we do, all expats need to learn, if they're learning Portuguese, would you mind repeating that a bit more slowly? Is a key phrase to have, because Portuguese people will open up just like that. Eric's saying to Francis, we spend November to March in the Algarve. The winters are just perfect. We walk the beach near every day. That's lovely to hear, Eric. And Thunderduck, yes, it takes a long time to go through all those thousands of photos. Yes, a bit more discipline. If only money were like that, right? Because I often think that it's like many a mickle makes a muckle, isn't it? You take a photograph here, you take a photograph there, and before you know it, you've got thousands, like Randy is saying. Some people do take that approach to money, don't they? Just squirrel a little bit away here and there. Anything that you do in that way, I suppose, putting a little bit away little and often, it's going to yield good results. Would love to hear Paul's take on Lulay versus Tavira community life. Have you got something to say on that? For Yvonne Gonzalez, who's with us this morning.
Well, I think the difference there is that one is inland and one is on the coast. Yeah. Lulay has one of the most fantastic markets on a Saturday that nearly everybody goes to. Yeah. Tavira, it's a strange place, is Tavira. It's a little bit expatish.
Yeah.
Which, you know, some people like, some people don't. But the place itself, you've got the river there that nearly splits the town between the old and the new town. Yeah. But it's a lovely place, and you've got the salt lakes and things like that. So there's lots going on there all year round. It doesn't close down in winter.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, Lulay is Lulay. Did you call it? I'm never sure. Lulay is absolutely beautiful. And obviously, there's no beach there, so as it were, because there's no what do they call it? Seaboard.
It has a castle, though. It has a castle.
Yes, but then again, that doesn't distinguish it from many other Portuguese places.
Well, that's true.
I mean, I'm certainly not disagreeing with you, but it is amazing when you go to, I don't know, even in England, it's like, well, there's a sort of a cathedral or a castle there. Every town you go to in Portugal has got some sort of great historic building, hasn't it? If it's not a monastery, a convent, or a castle. So Lulay is beautiful, but there you go, Yvonne. That's there's the distinction from through Paul's eyes, which will be available on a computer in about 10 years' time. He could show you through his own brain in 10 years' time, possibly. Oh, so frustrating. You go on holidays and have your 24 or something photos. If you were good at loading your camera, you could get 27, couldn't you, Paul?
You could sneak the odd one in, yeah.
Yes, or something, 24 or something photos. And when you go to the store and have it revealed and they're all blurred, yes, and then you decide you're going to buy Amateur Photographer magazine to learn a bit about it or go to a class, an evening class, your whole life digitized. That's what I'm afraid of, Thunderduck. That's immediately where my mind went, yikes. And also this thing about, what do you think of this, Paul? You look at a modern concert or event, and instead of people watching it and enjoying it, the phones, and I understand why people do it, but that's a big change in our culture, isn't it? Are people in the moment, or are they already in the future sharing these things?
I think the difference is that with a mobile phone, you can get away with murder. You can go into concerts and they won't stop you filming. If If you go in with a camera, especially a DSLR, you will be stopped and you're not allowed to do it. So
Yes,
phones, you get everybody has them so that they can't stop it, basically.
yeah.
But the quality, I'm not joking now, the quality of the phones in low light conditions are sometimes better than the professional cameras. It's amazing.
Yes, because they're optimized for lifestyle, aren't they, and convenience in a way that I guess, you know, most people don't venture into the professional settings of their mobile phone camera, do they? Because they wouldn't know what they were doing. So I guess the manufacturers make it easy for the conditions most people would find themselves in most of the time, right? Selfies and low light.
I'm amazed. We went to Venice, and I have never seen so many people doing selfies. It was embarrassing. And literally, the narrow little streets that you go down, they stopped the whole flow of people just to take shots, and everybody had to wait till they'd done their little talk, and off we went. I just couldn't believe it. It spoilt it for me, to be honest with you.
Did it? That's interesting. Yeah. Okay. So it must be really weird if you're a Venetian as well, seeing people come and doing that. And of course, when they're at the Leaning Tower of Pisa, you know, pushing it over or holding it up with that little trick of the camera there. Talking of which, what camera? Garvo's here this morning. What camera do you favour, Paul? And I so wish that my eyes could take pictures, because when you see the perfect shot, you can bet you're not near your camera. That's the Murphy's Law of photography, isn't it? Your battery's flat, or it doesn't actually take what you see. So Gary's looking forward to that. But can you go into a little bit of tech geekiness here and tell us what sort of kit you use?
Well, the best camera you can get is the one that you've got with you.
Very cool.
You know, because whenever you find a situation where you've got the wrong lens on for the wrong conditions. I mean, I was based with Nikon, and I was part of the Nikon world, really. But then about 5 years ago, I moved to digital medium format, which is another world, another level, basically. And we go from from cameras which were between 6 and 12 million pixels, which was good at the time. Yeah. Then you move on to the digital medium format, and you're talking about cameras of between 100 and 150 million pixels. So it's another world completely.
But that's to take a billboard photograph, isn't it? I mean, presumably
you could take a photograph of the state building in America and take an inch of it and blow it up to something like the size of a house, and it would be perfect. The resolution would be perfect, and resolution is detail.
Yeah, okay. That's amazing. So, Gary, I don't think is going to be going for one of those. I think probably the cusp that he's on is something, an intermediate thing, moving from the mobile camera world into something semi-pro. So what might people look at if they're thinking of that?
Well, I mean, the two leaders are basically Nikon and Canon. And you get this competition like you do between the Algarve and the North. And you get this banter. But to be honest with you, the cameras are so good today that you can't really go wrong. You can't really go wrong. Yeah. I mean, I've got a little Canon, and it's a waterproof Canon, and you can drop it, you can do all sorts of things with it, and it's what's called a tough. I think it was about 250 pounds or something like that. It was nothing. Sometimes I just use that, and if it goes in the water, it doesn't matter because it's waterproof, you know.
That sounds perfect for Gary's lifestyle and the sort of work that he does. And you can capture video and stills on that by the sound of it. Absolutely,
100%. And the film is RAW, which obviously we would prefer you to shoot in RAW.
Yeah.
And the videos are 4K, so fantastic. And you can put it in your glass of beer, let it go right down. It won't make any difference.
Well, that's also very handy. That sounds like the perfect. Given that last example, that's perfect for Gary. It so easily happen in the man cave one night. Jersey P, we're totally in love with the Algarve. So the Prajnikis are here and doing a bit of a tour. They've fallen in love with the Algarve. It's claimed their hearts. Anything specifically, Jersey P and Mrs. P, that you love about the Algarve? There or a particular place? Bon dia from Antonio F. Antonio, good morning to you, my friend. Daddy's Farm Life greetings from the Philippines this morning, Paul. How about that? And question for you. Does Paul have any suggestions of communities in the Algarve that are livable without a car? Looking for a good selection of shops, cafes, restaurants, markets, supermarkets, and medical facilities. Would he be a good neighbour for Frank in Portimao, do we think? That's the sort of place, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, all the big towns, Lagos, Portimao, Albufeira, Tavira. The big ones have got absolutely everything. I mean, once you get away, like we were in San Rafael, you're a little bit distant, and you have supermarkets everywhere, but you have the local stores too. I mean, we're moving to Alvo, and Alvo is very, very central. It's about a 10-minute drive to Portimao, about 20 minutes to Lagos, 20 minutes to the Formula One racetrack.
Yeah,
and it's easy, you know, and it's not changed much. It's not got the tourism that you get with the big places, really. But Lagos, I mean, that is the incoming city in the Algarve, I think, at the moment.
Oh, really? Okay, that's
yeah.
Why do you say that?
Well, they're doing a lot of building there, and the prices aren't crazy yet.
Right. Okay.
But there's so much going on. You've got a fantastic marina there. You've got the old and the new town, and it's quite spread about. It's quite big, actually, is Lagos. But I think for somebody who's thinking of property and maybe the future of property going up, I think Lagos could be the answer, actually.
Very good. Okay, so that's Paul's tip for Portugal, Lagos. And if I were the tourist board there, I would be coming up with a strapline like putting the gosh or discover the gosh in Lagos there. And I would put that alongside Setúbal as well. Or what's the other place? Sesimbra. That bit just south of Lisbon, I think, is a place to watch as well. If you're interested in those sorts of tips, those of you who are watching this morning, the Good Morning Portugal show, Paul Richards is here talking about the Algarve mainly, but we're easily distracted in some of the other interesting things that he's done in his life. We must talk about being a champagne importer at some point. Elra is saying good morning to Antonio. That's fantastic. Lol, I must be getting hard of hearing, says Mark. I thought you said mobile phone cameras are maximized for low life rather than low light. That's also true, I think, isn't it? Very possibly.
Well, low light, I think, is more the advantage.
Are there photography clubs in the Algarve, Paul? And might you be starting one or other parts?
Well, yes, there is one. There's one in Faro called the Algarve Photographic Society. But yeah, it is one of my intentions once we get settled in Alvo that to promote it. I mean, my opinion is that I'm there to help people no matter what, with photography or with anything. It's the way I am. And we will try and sort something out where we take people on the beach. And it's all free. I wouldn't make any charges at all. It's a pleasure for me to do it with people. And you know, it's the initial start of doing photography and what appears to be the technical difficulties. And once you've gone through that and you've moved to not being an automatic and controlling the camera yourself, that the pictures start to change.
Yes. Dare yourself to get away from automatic. Good advice in life generally, right? Don't be a robot. Yes. Don't go with the factory settings. Go off, to use a skiing metaphor there. Okay, so yes is the answer to that, Jeff. And Paul will be available when he's down there in the Algarve full time. And what I'd love to see, Paul, is maybe a forum thread on the expatsportugal.com/community. If people share the pictures they start taking with you, that'll be awesome. You say you don't charge. I'm sure you're open to people buying you a beer after the session, though, right?
Oh, no argument there.
Okay. Whatever. This is not one of the straplines Nikon used. Whatever camera you can nick on. Okay. Oh, come on, Thunderduck. And Antonio, the conversation continues between Antonio and Elra. That Canon camera is literally beer goggles, isn't it? If you can drop it into your beer. Nice one, Thunderduck. So you get to take pictures from your pint of beer when you're out for the evening. That's fantastic. You're making me want to get a camera again for the first time in years. I think you're not the only one, Xander's mom. I think a lot of people will be thinking, where's that? I'm gonna stop taking pictures on my mobile so much, and I'm gonna get the proper camera out. So I'm glad that's happening, because it's a great hobby. It really is. And Paul here to encourage you this morning. The weather is awesome and there's no bugs. Oh, I see. So the Algarve, that's simply it for the Mr. and Mrs. P there. Weather is awesome and no bugs. You must get the occasional pest down there, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you do, but we don't seem to get the mosquitoes. There are certain areas, if you go a little bit east near Tavira, you can get them down there with the rivers. But in general, no, we don't seem to suffer that much. We all get insects and things like that, but it's not a major problem for us here. I don't think it is.
All right, well, that's good to know. Absolutely, yeah, very different to the Isle of Skye or somewhere like that, where your experience of the place could be completely marred by not having a beekeeping suit on. Morning all from Nigel. Once a camera is stolen, and the memories are gone, even with the World Camera Recovery. So this is a thing, is it? Is there a World Camera database to help people recover the cameras and their precious memories that they're making on holidays? Paul, do you know of this?
Well, I think the answer to that is that when you look at your shots through your computer, I mean, obviously we've got the cloud, and if you're happy to pay a small fee to the iCloud, you can put everything on there, and that's saved for life. I mean, I think that's one of the problems with the digital world, is that we take the shots with a phone or a camera, we don't print them, and we don't save them. And when you lose the camera or you replace it, those photographs are sometimes lost, unless you put them on the cloud or save them onto a memory stick or somewhere like that.
Can you imagine being an archaeologist in years to come? Because so many of our memories, the archaeologists of the future will be forensic cloud scourers, won't they? And their job is going to be millions, billions of times more complicated. And how boring is it going to be going through other people's photographs to try and find out how we lived 2,000 years ago, 2,000 years from now? I just wouldn't wish that on anybody. We struggle to go through our own photographs, let alone other people's. Gary, a camera is only as good as the lens allows it to be, he says. I have a Nikon, but I don't think it's that special. And a Canon is every bit as good. Would you agree with that? I mean, certainly this webcam I'm using now is not a laptop one anymore. It is a Zeiss lens, and it is scaring the horses with its level of detail, I think, of a morning.
Yeah, I mean, what manufacturers do, they tend to sell camera bodies relatively cheap, and I've very little profit from them, hoping that you will buy lenses. And the more money you can spend on a lens, the better quality you're going to get, without question. You pay for what you get, basically.
Yes.
And if you buy cheap lenses, which are not very fast, I mean, a good lens would be something like an f2.8, a very fast lens. But the normal cheaper lenses are like f4.5. They're not that good in low light and things like that. It's what you want to pay, basically.
Okay, so those phrases that I'm hearing from the analog world have transferred into the digital world, have they? Those
Oh yeah, absolutely. The same rule applies. Lenses are lenses. You know, there are good ones and there are ones that, when you look at the edges of the shot, they start to fade, and you get technicals of defragmentation, things like that. There's a lot of things that's technically in the better lenses, the way they put the actual lenses together, the way they build a lens, and the quality of the material that they use. It makes such a difference.
And are the Japanese still best at this?
They're very, very good. They're very, very good. I mean, the German lenses, I think, still are pretty high up there. But I mean, a lot of them now, the German companies are letting the Japanese build them for them under license.
Oh, I see. That's quite a clever compromise.
Because it's cheaper.
Yes, of course. No, understood. Interesting. And is it still true then? Because I do remember things from I used to dabble a little bit and at college, experimented with photography. Is it still true that a 105 is the ultimate portrait lens, 105 mil?
Yeah, 105. Yeah, depends on which format you're using, whether you're using 35 mil or whether you're using medium format, because the focal length changes obviously with the type of format that you're using, really.
Okay, so
yeah, I mean, in the old days it was the 50. The nifty 50 was the lens that everybody had, and that was it.
It was called standard for a reason, wasn't it? Because the 50 mil lens used to come with most camera bodies, didn't it? In those days, amazing. And it was only the experts or the serious amateurs who bought body only and then put their own lenses on. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to get a bit lateral with you now, drawing on your other experiences in life. You have been in the motor trade as well. We're deciding whether it's best to ship our car or buy one there. What do you think? I think I know what you're going to say here, Paul.
Well, I think looking at the whole program, it's better to buy in Portugal. I mean, I've got a very nice car in the UK, but I will not be taking it to Portugal. It's just the cost of doing the headlights. Some of the places now want even the wipers moving because they're right-hand drive. Wow. And the other factors are it's right-hand drive, which is a problem. Yeah. The insurance companies don't like it, so they penalise you. And the other thing is the depreciation. If you sell that car in Portugal, you would lose a lot of money. Where normally with part cars you buy in Portugal, they keep the price quite well.
They do, don't they? Absolutely. And you'll see something 20 years old commanding quite a handsome price still if it's been looked after.
Well, I can't get my head around what prices are in Portugal for used cars. I just think it's unbelievable compared to the UK.
Why do you think that is then, as somebody who knows from the trade?
Well, I think basically the problem with Portugal is the import duties and things like that that cause them, they're so expensive. I mean, we looked, Jury did a fantastic program, about car prices.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I did a similar sort of thing, and I found out that some of the new cars, the price difference wasn't that great. The only problem was that some of the specs of cars in Portugal compared to the specs in other countries were a lot lower because they wanted to get the price down. So you have to be very careful when you order a new car that you check what spec it's got, because you might think is standard isn't standard.
Okay, so it's a small print to look at. Somebody was saying to me as well, they couldn't believe, somebody from America said they went to buy a car here and they couldn't believe how easy going it was. In America, you arrive at a car lot and you're not leaving there until they've sold you a car, basically. You have to, it's like an assault course. And it probably, I guess UK will be somewhere in the middle, a little bit more laid back, but they're keen to sell to you. That, the car salesmen have a certain sort of reputation, don't they? But in Portugal, they struggle to get the people to sell them a car. And it's like, well, we haven't got that in stock. You're gonna have to wait a few weeks for that. And they're very easy going about it, which is probably quite a nice thing if you just want to take your time and pick your car wisely and leisurely.
Well, I can only talk for the UK, but the motor trade has completely changed in the last 10 years. I mean, the big boys have moved in, and they control everything. And you can literally go to a site and drive away that day. And that was unheard of in the old days. And they just made it easier. And it's very competitive in the UK now.
Yeah, okay. They want to make the sale. As that's, of course, if the silicon chip supply is there for you to do so. Shortage of chips probably affecting both the camera and motoring world right now. Going back to your mention of the Portimao Formula One track, have you been there? I mean, Jersey's saying there's been a lot of fire done, and that's true. Are you able to have a little drive around it? Is that an experience people can have?
I've not actually done it, but if you pay, yes, you can. Assuming there's nobody there at the time doing things. The time I went there, they do a lot of motorcycle races and testing there at the Portimao site. And I went there one day, and they were doing the photographs for the new bikes for the next year. Wow. And I went up to the guy, and he said, "Oh no, you can't come. It's a secret. We're doing the photographs for next year." I said, "Well, I'm a photographer. That's what I do." And he said, "Oh well, okay, then you come have a look, And he said, "Leave your camera where it is." I said, "Yeah, fine." And they had all the lighting up and everything, and it was quite interesting. And we got very chatty with some of the guys there, and they were Italians. There were all sorts of people, But yeah, it was interesting actually.
And I think we have the Portuguese have a top MotoGP man as well, don't they? He's I forget his name, forgive me, but I think Portugal, in so many understated ways, are big in the world of MotoGP as well, which I believe happens down there. Here we go. Shout out for Lagos from Andy. Are any towns more prone to be party towns? Okay, Paul's the man to ask about this, raver as he is, as opposed to more peaceful places to live. I understand there's a summer high season most anywhere. So this partying thing, that sort of sound, this strikes, there was a time when I've been okay about that. But these days, I do not want to be living somewhere where I'm going to hear English people at 3 a.m. going, "Oh!" So how do you avoid that in the Algarve?
You don't go. It's simple. But I mean, you look at Albufeira in the peak season under normal conditions, and it's Blackpool or Brighton. The Portuguese don't go, and they're there to enjoy themselves, So good luck on them, but you don't have to go there, so we don't.
Okay, all right, but I mean, there is an escape Algarve-wise, isn't there? You just get to know where to go, and you leave them to it, as you say. Yeah.
Absolutely. Let the tourists enjoy themselves. They're paying a lot of money to be there. And come on, because we need them. Them.
Yeah. Well said. Lagos is amazing, says Jackie. And we have a pronunciation, Lagos. Like a bit of a gush at the end there rather than a gosh. Okay, thank you, Antonio, for that. Very helpful. Pardon the random request. Look, we're very useful. We're very used to having random requests here. Don't apologise for that. Could someone drop? This is random though. Could someone drop that carpool tunnel vid link, please? Editing through thousands of digital photos. It's getting to me. Yes. So Matty's your man for that sort of stuff. Loads of questions coming in for Paul, who's with me today. Paul Richards. You'll have seen him in the webinars that we do. Actually, tonight's webinar, just briefly mentioning that we are doing a very interesting show tonight with Sarah and Luke, the off-gridders, and Phil and Kimberly. It is the Living the Rural Dream in Portugal webinar tonight. Let's discuss off-grid homesteading and country living. How off-grid, how countrified are you where you're going to be? I know you've got a log burner there, Paul, or are you going for all mod cons?
Well, if you're a little bit familiar with the Algarve, we've got the N125. It runs literally from left to right. Yeah. And Alvo is in the middle. The town is the small village. There's for the golfers, they'll have heard of a place called Penina Golf Course, a World Championship golf course, and we're inland about 6 minutes from there. So we are in the country a little bit.
In the country a little bit. Okay, that's a nice referencing of roads there. Fantastic. Where Louise will be going to. Hey up, Louise. Solo 50 plus expat Portugal. I'm off to the Algarve today for a house sit. That's a nice way to do it. Ojgash, I'm not sure what that is. That sounds like a medical complaint, possibly. Actually, talking of which, I think we need to do some giveaways on the Good Morning Portugal show. The best I could find today is this relief for trapped wind in German. So if you are Luft im Bauch and you might need some Lefax Ajutus, just put your name in the comments and we can just post that to you. The first of many, hopefully, Good Morning Portugal show giveaways, and I hope they do get better than that. But it's a start, isn't it? And the free photography lessons from Paul as well. Jersey P, this is our last day here in Lisbon and Portugal before our morning flight to the US. It's a sad day for us, yeah, and for us too. Hopefully we'll be back for next year for good. Hope so, Jersey P. So you're definitely... I suppose it wasn't a difficult decision to make, but you needed to come, check it out, see where you wanted to be. But it has sealed the deal to be here in Portugal. Great news, and great to have had you in the country with us for a short time at least. Good luck on your move to the Algarve. My favourite place is Lagos, and love the local Praia Dona Ana. Do you know that one that Abel's mentioning there, the Praia Dona Ana?
No, I don't think I've actually been to that one. I mean, I've been up and down the coast, and you lose the names because they're all very similar. But might have been, but it doesn't ring a bell with me.
We will be showing a video actually of Paul's photographs towards the end of the session here this morning. And I have to say, Praia Dona Ana sounds a lot more romantic and special than the English translation, which would be like Granny Annie's beach, wouldn't it? I think. So Praia Dona Ana it is. I've been thinking recently we should start taking photos again and having actual photographs. Let's face it, if the it's a cheerful thought. If the apocalypse comes and the internet is no longer accessible, our histories will be lost. Apart from all that collection of photos on the grand piano in the main lounge. My photos are backed up all over the place: cloud, external hard drive, and laptop. And that's great. If you're moving to Portugal, isn't it great to know they're in the cloud rather than having to gather together 50 framed photographs? So it does have its benefits for sure. Thank you for that, Louise. Elra, that would be a psychiatric self-diagnosis if you printed all those millions of selfies and framed them. Yeah, that's a chilling thought. A movie script, possibly. Just had a look at your latest video and commented on it, says Matty to Louise. Paul has videos too. We'll be looking in a moment. Hope you have a safe journey, says Errol to Jersey. Keep busy and time will fly. You'll be back sooner than you realise. Yes. How have you managed that process, Paul? You have a long-standing love with Portugal. You decided to move here. How have you dealt with the white knuckle ride of the transition and the stress that might come with it? It's
been a nightmare, to be honest with you. Yeah, I mean, in recent times with the pandemic, the cost factor has just shot through the roof. I mean, normally we would have come out in winter where the flights are very cheap, but now it's just, you know, I mean, I was amazed. We came out in May this year and it was quieter than what it normally is in winter. Yeah. The airports are empty. We went to Faro to come back in last month and I expected it to be busy. Zero. 6 people on the plane going back, and they'd cancelled 4 flights that day. We was the only plane going back. And we were supposed to be going to Leeds, and we finished up in Newcastle, and they had to bus us down. But I feel so sorry for the local people there, because last year they got away with July and August being open, And this year, because of the rules that's gone on in Portugal, it's just been horrendous. I mean, a lot of the bars near where I was, and the weekends, they had to close the bar at 3:30 in the afternoon. And at night, during the week, it was 10:30. And the problem for the owners of bars and restaurants is the system is different there for the employees. And they all have to sign a contract normally for 12 months, so they're guaranteed to be paid. And we've gone in places where there's been more staff than people eating. And you just feel so sorry for the people who run these businesses. They're not going to be there next year. They're going to go out of business. And it's sad.
Is that your thought then? I mean, what's your diagnosis for what's going on in the Algarve? How do you think it's going to affect the Portuguese economy?
Well, you've got to remember the Algarve survives on tourism. Yeah. And unfortunately this year, because of the costs of getting the rigmarole of all the forms, that alone is a nightmare. Yeah. It has had a major effect on the traffic that's gone to the Algarve. It really has. Yes. And you really have to feel for the people who live there, who work there, how this has affected them.
Yeah, awful. Okay, so it's important that people move there and stimulate the economy and become part of things on a local level, as you're doing, Paul. So it's been stressful, basically, and you'll be glad to be there and put this all behind you then, by the sound of it, this process.
Yeah, I mean, I have driven there, and I mean, about 4 years ago, we'd actually drove there, which was quite enjoyable, really. Yeah. But it's just so easy to jump on a plane and, 2.5 hours, you hire a car and you're away. I mean, that's the beauty of coming in winter. And progressing onto people who are doing what I've just done, is that if you come in winter, everything is a lot cheaper. Yeah. You can hire a car for €19 a week. Yeah. Property to rent is very cheap. No traffic. The beaches are empty, and you get a proper feel of Portugal when the tourists aren't there. And I think that's important to know.
Great insight, great recommendation, fantastic. That sounds ideal, doesn't it? If your lifestyle affords you a few weeks or months away in Portugal in the winter, what better place to have a little mosey around than the Algarve? Sounds fantastic. Bon dia from Poland, from Barbara this morning. Hello, Barbara. And thank you, Paul, from Jeff, for sharing your knowledge and perspectives. Much appreciated. Bringing an old car, that will be all right for Matty, I guess, but still subject to a little bit of taxation, possibly, and matriculation cost. I still think best to buy here in Portugal. 23, and good for the economy too. 23% VAT on new keeps the used prices high, says Thunder Duck. I'm American, and they are very aggressive. That's in terms of car sales, I think. Talking of wives and people being called Barbara, I hope she's a fantastic wife. Me too. Miguel Oliveira, there's the MotoGP man that I was trying to remember his name. Miguel Oliveira, MotoGP champ. Petrol and diesel cars are going to have a little resale value further down the road. Yes, with the EU going to ban new combustion engine vehicles by 2030. What do you make of this, Paul? Is that doable, or are they just getting hung up on this?
I think it's a marketing ploy. I mean, at one time we were told buy diesels. Yeah, and the diesel engines are now so good with the emissions, but now it's petrol now and electric cars. And I've got an electric stroke petrol car myself. And I'll be honest with you, I think for what they cost and what they can give when the electric part is working and when the normal engine is working, they haven't got there yet. They haven't got the advancement yet. They're getting the batteries right, but they haven't got it where you can buy an electric car and use it as a normal car. And we're not there yet. I think we're 2 years away there. And I think the cost of paying that extra at this point in time just isn't worth it.
Yeah, and I mean, the idea to transform or change how cars are in such a short space of time is actually an ecological disaster as well, isn't it? Wouldn't it be better to get the most out of the things we've got and make a slow transition and change lifestyle rather than trying to live the way we are? I mean, that's the problem, isn't it? Is, this idea that we have, we're using the resources of 3 planets or 2.5 planets instead of the one that we've got is all to do with consumer demand and lifestyle. If we could address it at that level, then we probably wouldn't need to be thinking about, everyone driving a Tesla and the inevitable problems that's going to cause going from diesel to electric and all the mining for stuff that goes into electric cars. It's not going to be as easy as some might suggest, certainly the politicians. And they're not even going to be here, are they, by 2030? They're going to set all these things up now and they're going to be miles away by 2030, as usual.
Well, it's money, isn't it? It's all about money. and getting the money in, and this is the end thing you've got to have now, so that's the way you go. And it's marketing. It's just marketing, really. I mean, I still love the old diesel engine. Well, not the old diesel engine, but the new diesel engine. They're so good. And the consumption and economy that you get with diesels. And I think that's more prone to Europe rather than the UK. We tend to use more petrol engines in the UK. But I mean, I've always had diesels, and now I'm on a petrol stroke electric, and I'm thinking, not sure about this.
All right. It's going to be on the market soon, everybody. Paul, what was your funniest, weirdest house hunting moment? Now, it's always good fun, comic opportunities, and humorous moments when you're buying a house in a foreign country, not least the photographs that you see of Portuguese properties. What was your funniest or weirdest moment then when you were moving about Portugal looking for somewhere to live?
Well, I think, God bless estate agents, I think, but they do prone to exaggeration.
Marketing again.
And the images that you see in the brochure and the images you get when you get there, unfortunately, are completely, totally different.
Yeah.
Being a photographer and done the estate agency work in the UK, we're quite strictly governed, but over in Portugal, it seems to be a license to show what is the best and hide what isn't. Although some of the photographs I've seen of ironing boards in rooms and things like that the photographer done, I just shake my head and think, God, is that how it is? But I mean, the funniest thing, we went to a house and I was told, oh, this is a wonderful, lovely place, lovely area, things like that. And it was in Montegodo, it was the place, near Algarve. And it was an expensive house. And we got there and I said, have we got the right house here? Said, oh, yes, this is it. And we walked in and it was falling down, was this house. It was literally falling down. And somebody had not lived in it for maybe 10 years. And I said, why are we here? Why have you brought me here? But it's got potential.
Yes.
And this word potential, I said, I don't want potential. I want to move in with a key. End of story.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't believe the way that they looked at it and the way we looked at it as buyers. And everything was soluble with the estate. Oh, we'll do this, we can do that. Because one of the things that I found is condition is so important when you look at these properties. I think, is it legal? That's the other thing that we found was a big problem. A lot of the things that have been done, the swimming pools, extensions to property, they haven't got permission. And the estate agents were, oh, don't worry, we can get it for you.
Don't worry.
Why haven't they got it now? I don't want his problem to become my problem.
Which it will.
I mean, the other thing is neighbours. You've got to be careful about neighbours when you're buying property in Portugal. Because if you buy a property and next door it is a summer let, then in July and August, you ain't going to get any sleep.
No. That's
so be careful of that one. Make sure that they aren't letting properties next door to you. Doing searches, very important that your solicitor does the searches, because you need to know that there's no debts and things like that with it, that you're getting proper title. We had also, and I think this is again very important, is you have a survey done on the property.
Yes.
Because you have to remember, Portugal is in an earthquake area. Not a big risk, but it's there. So if you're looking at older property, then you need to know that it's structurally 100% fine. What we did also, we not only did the checks on the property, we did checks on the land around us to see if there were any planning permissions going in. So the camera, the town hall can check that for you. It takes a little bit more time, but you at least have some idea that nothing's going to be built around you while you're there. There's no plans to do that. And just be careful. I think, buyer beware is very much what I would say to people. Buyer beware. You're spending a lot of money. Take your time, get it right.
Very, very good advice. Independent legal. Don't go with if the estate agent says, oh, we've got a great lawyer you could work with, it'd be very convenient. Get your independent lawyer sorted out. Get your independent survey sorted out. Very, very good advice there, Paul. Thank you.
Just one other point. When you're using the third party people like solicitors and other people's surveys, make sure that you get the quote in writing for your costs before you pay. Because if you don't, then you're open to having a massive bill afterwards. So make sure in writing that's what you're going to get charged, then you know where you stand.
Very good. Excellent advice this morning from Paul Richards, who's here with me on the Good Morning Portugal show. Moving to the Algarve soon. Live in the sticks. One bar closes at midnight. Everybody goes. Busy pop in for everybody to meet. That is a great. The bars and cafes of Portugal are the great community centres of this culture. Fantastic. The Algarve Classic at Portimao, says Colin, was great for classic car racing until this year, as after Brexit, each competitor needs to pay €1,000 per car, and any parts fitted will be subject to 45% import duty. Oops. Capricorn 12, hola bon dia. If you want to avoid Party Town and really embrace the power of relaxation, there are so many places in the Algarve. Check out Sagres, Aljazur, Monchique, and so many other places in the Western Algarve. There you go. For Jeff, I think that was, wasn't it? So that's a gas in German. Okay, yeah, that's my Luft und Bauch. That's the giveaway today. Who wants to own up to having trapped wind? Relief is at hand. Thanks, Carl. I don't know if it's for that or for something else. We said Donna Anna. It's a pleasure, Jersey Pete. Donna Anna is supposed to be the best beach in the Algarve today. I mean, that's quite a competition, though, isn't it, Paul? The best beach in the Algarve.
I'm sure it's said by many people for many different places.
Exactly. Okay, we'll give it a go to your videotape in a moment. Unless you've got to rush off to Betty's or somewhere like that. You're right for a few more minutes?
I'm fine, no problem. My time is your time.
Excellent. I will be giving something away tomorrow on the show too, Carl. I wonder what it could be. Join us tomorrow morning with Elaine Godley for Feel Good Friday. We'll be having a catch-up. One of my first guests when we started this, actually. Great to be seeing you back in the studio, in the virtual studio, Elaine. See you tomorrow. That's a place that's unbeatable, says Andrew. Okay, so Donna Anna Beach, Granny Annie's Beach is the place to go by the sound of it. Okay, there's some talk about the carpool tunnel link. We will maybe pop that in the forum for us. File it under aging and health tips, possibly, or occupational therapy or something like that in the forum. That would be great. Victoria is waiting for her visa approval. Okay, selling, donating the rest of my stuff and making the rounds of goodbyes. Busy times. It is I remember, going through all of this, not a visa because we didn't have to back in the day, coming from UK. But yes, getting rid of stuff and making your rounds of goodbyes is quite poignant. And also exciting as well. I'm sure you do, says Capricorn 12. Portugal is truly an amazing place. So many undiscovered secrets. Yes, understated, undiscovered. So much to do here. You could retire here and spend the rest of your life in this country and not be bored, really. Is that your experience, Paul? It's a new surprise every day, pretty much, if you just go wandering, isn't there?
Well, it's not just that. You meet people, and I love to talk to people. I enjoy communicating with people, and especially the Portuguese. I don't know. I mean, I've lived in France, I've lived in Greece, and I've never found a country like Portugal to be so easy for the people to talk to you, regardless of where you are in Portugal. And an example I would give you: we were in apartments in San Rafael, and our neighbour just arrived. And he got this beautiful barbecue, brand new, all singing, all dancing barbecue. And I complimented on it. And he didn't speak English or anything like that. It's very nice, very nice. 10 minutes later, I get a knock on the door. And it's the guy. And he's brought us all this food. What's all this? And his son came with him and says, look, my father he wants you to try the food. And there was ribs, and it was absolutely beautiful, was this food. But that's the Portuguese attitude. They want to bring you in, and they want you to be part of their family. And I find that so fascinating with the Portuguese people. They're so friendly and helpful.
Yeah.
And that's a big key to me. It's so good that they have this attitude of we're your friends. How can we help you?
Yeah. And what we say is, not only can you leave your back door open, but when you come back, there'll be a bag of oranges inside the hallway. Okay, Jerry's here this morning. Morning, Jerry. Well said, Paul. Call out to all expats. Support the local business. Blimmin' right. Avoid Amazon if you can. I know it's very convenient, but do what you can to put money back into the local economy here. We really need to do that. I think it's a bit of a responsibility we have. There's a vested interest in that because we moved here for a particular lifestyle, and that lifestyle is under threat. And the best way to maintain and support it, I think, is to put money into the economy locally. And not to have it siphoned out by all the big boys, as you referred to them as before, the marketing and the corporates. That can so easily happen. So let's keep the money in the local communities, get out there, expats, and spend it. Stephen, morning, Paul. Morning, all. Are you moving on a D7, or did you sort all that out before, Paul?
That's a good question, actually. It's a really good question. I mean, the D7 applies to when you're in the country you come from. So you can only get it there. And unfortunately, the VFS are not answering emails. They're not answering telephone calls. They're not being very helpful at all. And at this moment in time, we haven't got our residency. We have a NIF number, counts, things like that. But we're going to have to sort this problem out. And our solicitor, he's trying to do that for us. But it is a total nightmare at the moment, trying to get residency. It really is.
So you might be kicking yourself a little bit that you didn't sort it out prior to the deadline before, where you could have come on the Schengen.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, other things control things sometimes, and it's not possible to do it, you know. But I mean, go for the golden visa. Well, I don't particularly want to do that, so I keep asking all the different experts, how do we get around this particular problem? I tick every box that's needed, and yet, you know, you can't talk to the people who can organise it for you. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, it's true. It does become very personal eventually, doesn't it? Because it is a personal application process, and despite every bit of advice that you can find on the internet, you will be up against personal circumstances, local VFS, and little idiosyncrasies of the system. And it sounds like you're doing the best thing you possibly can. You've got legal representation, and you've logged your inquiries with the appropriate authorities. What else can you do? And they'll get back to you. They'll get back to you when they get back to you, right? And you've got your paper trail, your electronic paper trail of all the efforts you've made. Perfect. Another question here for you. Where can you hire a car for 19 euros a week? Wowza, says Yvonne.
Well, remember, that's winter terms. That's not summer terms. I mean, we use a company called CarJet, and they use about 20 different agencies. And we just do it before we get to Faro when we're coming out. And it was all pre-arranged. Yeah. I mean, like going back to, I know you like Zest, and it's a one price. And I think with car hire, you have to be very careful that you don't get caught for all the little extras. Oh yeah, because it's the fish to catch the mackerel, isn't it? They want to get you there, then they'll sell you a job. But with me, they're wasting the time completely. I'll tell you.
I'm not surprised to hear that. Algarve in the winter is stunning. 90 days is not enough. Okay, yeah. So if you're not a resident now and you're coming from the UK, you've got I think 2 lots of 90 days, but you can't just stick around like you used to back in the day. Aren't electric vehicles tax free? Paul, do you know the answer to that?
Well, in the UK they are. I'm not sure. I think they are in Portugal, but I wouldn't be 100% sure about that.
All right, great advice and tips, Paul. Thank you from Fiona and Simon. That's right. You have great value this morning. You've got your video to watch. Hybrids are a stopgap tech, says Andy. I disagree on the electric vehicle with Paul. Unless you want to drive 1,000 kilometers a day, you can use electric vehicles daily. Electric cars are still expensive at present, but Tesla will soon bring out a mass market electric car rather than high end, but with amazing capabilities. More futuristic talk here on the Good Morning Portugal show. EV ranges are now up to 400 plus kilometers. And if you stay in that range and charge at home overnight, you have absolutely no range issues. A real proponent of the electric vehicle there. This is about new cars and not replacing what's already on the road. Thank you, Sean, for that intervention there. We live in Greenwich, made famous all over the world because of its mean time. We have 2 cars, a Volvo, 13 years old, and a Skoda Kodiaq. I've never heard of that. 2 months old. To drive the Volvo inside the North and South Circular will cost $12.50 a day from October. I don't know what ULEZ means, but it sounds like a bit of an unhappiness expressed towards the administration of the United Kingdom. I bet you're glad. I don't know if you're making a permanent move, Capricorn 12, to the Algarve. I know you're an Algarvophile as well. Are you swallows that are moved back and forth, or is your intention to be here at some point permanently? Okay, so let's go into these last few questions before we share this wonderful set of images from Paul. Nigel does have a what is this? I have a 40,000 BMW electric i3 in Portugal. I have a 20-year-old Golf estate worth €2,000. Golf is a great tool, 8x4. Yes, this is important. If you are doing a bit of homesteading, your Golf estate will take the 2,400 by 1,200 sheet of sterling board, your OSB, and 5 dogs in the back, or the family from the airport. So they're probably worth their weight in gold, aren't they? Because the old Portuguese do like an estate car here, don't they? They have a particular premium on them. They do love an estate here because they're very versatile. I guess your dogs are not that big. Okay, yeah. How many Great Danes? 2, maybe, if you're Andy. Similar here. Lovely family car in the UK, but now have a workhorse of a diesel in Portugal. That's a transition people seem to make. So not the giveaway is not needed for Andy. And is that why you're called Thunder Duck? I wonder. 5 Portuguese water dogs in the back of a golf estate there. I've heard many stories, says Louise. One guy spent hundreds clearing land he thought he owned. Neighbor said, "Why are you clearing someone else's land?" Another found out they owned only half the house. Going back to Paul's advice there, get a decent lawyer. I mean, that is terrible, isn't it? Why are you clearing my land? Because I thought I owned it. No, this is my land. But carry on. Fantastic. Yvonne's here again. Obrigadissima to you, Paul, there. Oh, the ultra low emission zone. I thought it was more of a put down than that, but $12.50 a day does seem like quite a lot of money to pay before you've even got to where you're going, especially if you're a tradesperson, right? I'm normally a very calm and relaxed person, says Capricorn 12, but Brexit really knows how to make my blood boil. Never has so much been given up by so few. Mustache. Off to the shops. Have a great day, everyone. See you later. Watch the film on the replay. It's well worth it. Thunder Duck. They bought a house and did not do the check with the camera and didn't own what they thought they did. There you go. And finally, for now, then, can you still travel to Portugal while your D7 is still in process? Do you travel as a tourist? Yes, you do. As it would be my assessment of that. I'm sure you'd agree with that, Paul. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so let's go to this lovely. Paul, we'll have to get you back. We haven't talked about skiing. We haven't talked about champagne. Just very quickly on the champagne, do you think Portuguese espumante can compete with the French champagnes?
No.
Diplomatic outrage. Oh no. Okay, can you qualify that a bit? I mean, they are very good, aren't they? You're not talking about 500 quid for a bottle, are you? You're talking about a £5 for a very respectable bottle of fizz here in Portugal, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a story. The champagne, if you drink only champagne in a night, bottles of it, with nothing else, the next morning, you will not have a hangover. If you mix it with anything, you will feel terrible. And it's because the bubbles in the champagne, with the oxygen in them, they get to the bloodstream and woof, off you go. But if you only drink champagne, nothing but good quality champagne, you will never have a problem. And
does Portuguese espumante come into that very good classification, would you say?
To be honest with you, I've not actually tried it, because if I'm buying champagne, I buy champagne.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I guess it's going to... well, okay, you and me, next year, we'll have an espumante tasting show where you bring...
You're on.
This is a good deal for me. You bring a bottle of champagne, I'll bring a bottle of espumante. It's going to be a cheap night for me, a slightly more expensive one for you. But we should video that, because I think it'll be make for very interesting viewing. Because I lived in the Barada region where this is the heartland of Portuguese fizz production. It's not known around the world. It doesn't travel, but the Portuguese don't like to part with it. That's the other part of it. And there's so many beautiful fizzes up there. And they, I'm not an expert like you are on champagne, but they seemed very respectable to me. Apart from the red one, wasn't too keen on red fizz, I have to say. Okay, so apparently you're the Paul is the Swiss Tony with your the motor trade and the skiing. Yes, is he? Were you the basis of the Fast Show character? I wonder. Okay, so let's see if going to the Algarve is like making love to a beautiful woman. With your one, we're going to talk through this 7 minutes. I was going to share this on the show one morning, but I just think it's really important that you're here, maybe to do a bit of a commentary on it. So there it is in all its glory. We're seeing your fantastic photographs. Little bit of editing, little bit of touching possibly there, but no dodgy skies added or anything there. That is, as you see, is what you get, right?
Yeah, that's Everastor Beach, is that?
All right, let's roll it. So the Algarve 2019-2020. It's been great to have you this morning. I don't know if we're sharing sound or not. Maybe somebody could tell us.
That's a secret. That's called the Secret Bay. That's absolutely beautiful. Very difficult to find.
Right.
And again, near San Rafael, this area here, not within walking distance. And that is San Rafael itself.
Beautiful.
These were taken in winter, hence there's not many people about. Yes.
You had it to yourself.
It's a different story in summer.
Stunning.
Some people might recognise this. This is Silves. Again, a fabulous place with lots of things going on. Yeah. Now then,
Is that
this is
Tavira?
Luce, which is near Tavira.
Okay.
Lovely little quiet village.
Ooh,
And
that's
Varela. This is where you catch the train to go to the beach.
very
Or you
beautiful.
can walk it. Beautiful little place. It's renowned for its anchors, where the fishermen parked all their anchors in annoyance to the city, saying they couldn't do things anymore. Got quite a story with it.
Yes, yes.
Some super little restaurants there. And we're back to Algarvophile. Beach. The building is a 7-star hotel near it. This is a Mercia de Pura, which is quite close to us.
7-star.
7-star. It's not built yet.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Medwin Goodall, there for that. That is superb. Thank you very much indeed, Paul. It's been great having you here. The link to the video is also in the comments there, so you can watch that at your leisure. Stunning, says Fiona and Simon. Stunning too, says Louise. I'm so looking forward to being there for the next few weeks. Isn't that a lovely start to your journey towards the Algarve? Final thought from you then, Paul. Absolutely no regrets, obviously, choosing the Algarve. You're looking forward to being there soon. And you would utterly recommend it to other people. So beautiful, says Victoria. Last word to you, sir.
Yeah, and not only that, I look forward to meeting some of the people who are on this programme who are still in their own country. I'm always there. I'll be in Algarve. I will get well known, I'm sure, because I love meeting people and happy to help anybody in any way.
Oh, absolutely wonderful. Thanks, Paul. I think we have to get you back to talk about all the other things we didn't manage to talk about today. But we'll see you soon. Maybe see you tonight on the webinar for the rural grid and country living. I'll see you then. Thanks, everybody, for your lovely contributions as well. Take care. Have a lovely day in Harrogate, lad. Ciao, ciao.
Cheers.